First, did you ride a horse here? Yeah. Don't trust your love life to just any network. T-Mobile has more number ones in 5G than any other network. Need to ride home? T-Mobile is the leader in 5G. T-Mobile, proud sponsor of Bedtime Stories with Dr. Al Greer.
Sheila Forrest. Queen Janine. Is it that time already? I guess it is. Good evening. Welcome to Bedtime Stories, the show designed with the lovers in mind, where we put you to bed but never to sleep with the greatest love songs of all time, right here on WOSD DB Chicago, WDLB Indianapolis, Rainneal Media, which is also the best music of your life. It's your Dr. Al Greer officially checking in. And also officially checking in, Sheila Forrest and Queen Janine Lee Jefferson. They're checking in on Facebook as well. Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. We're up until midnight Central Standard Time here. If you have a request, we have a number. It's 773-675-2400. That's 773-675-2400. Coming up in our last hour, we do a thing we call foreplay. I can't talk tonight. We do a ting, we call it foreplay. That's 4 songs by one of your favorite artists or groups, male or female. And once again, if you have one in mind, 773-675-2400. Let's kick it off with Stephanie Mills for Sheila Forrest. This is I Feel Good All Over on Bedtime Stories. It's your peanut butter brother, Dr. Al Greer. Howdy ho, neighbors. Whew. Good evening, ladies. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. I really appreciate you all. As the kids say, let's get it crack-a-lackin'. Yeah. Let's get it crack-a-lackin'. Bree, daughter, what's going on? Let me guess. She's still mad at me. So I went to see my granddaughter this evening, and we played, and she did not want me to leave. Naomi did not want me to leave. And Pawpaw did not want to leave Naomi. So she was upset. She just like, she refused to hug me. She refused to give me a kiss. She refused everything. She was like, mm-mm, mm-mm. I said, well, I'll see you later. She just looked at me like, but you still leaving? I'm like, okay. As long as it took me to get over there and I had to leave, oh no, she wasn't feeling that. Mm-mm. You don't have to go. Well, I gotta go. Papa has to go home and take a nap so he can do bedtime stories. She was just not, she wasn't having it. I said, Naomi, I love you. She just looked at me like, but you still leaving? I'm like, oh my goodness. All my daughter could say was, see what you started? I'm like, well, I came to see her. I could have not showed up at all. It was Wednesday, and she knew it was Wednesday, so she knew Papa was coming. She was upset. Yep, she was very upset, which made Papa upset, and I started to go back in. But once again, Papa didn't want to fall asleep at the wheel. So she wanted you to stay. You're not fooling your granddaughter. You're like, mm-hmm. She was like, mm-mm. But you still leaving. So yeah, she was big mad. Yep, she was big mad. So I've got to make it a regular thing where I go see her. Those meltdowns are hard to calm down at times. Yeah. EJ didn't really care. He had a good time with Papa and was like, okay, well, gone on. But her, oh no. Mm-mm. Oh no. She was not feeling it. Nope. Said sorry, but you're still leaving. So yeah. So yeah, she's big mad at me. Yep. How do you get a 5-year-old not to be mad at you? I don't know. I don't know. I was like, okay. Reminds me of when my oldest daughter, Larice, was a baby, and she never wanted Daddy to leave. Daddy, like, where you going? Why your coat on? Where you going? Home. Grandson was okay, but your granddaughter was big mad. So you will have to set up a play date soon. Um, well, it have to be every Wednesday then. So, yep, because that's the only day that I don't have to go to work. Work. So, yeah, she was kind of upset, to say the least. Yeah, yeah, she was. Yeah, Like I said, grandson, EJ was cool. Yeah, consistency is good. Yes. Yep, consistency. So her and I will have a standing date on Wednesday. I'm not to plan anything else. I'm going to be with her every Wednesday from here on out until she gets tired of looking at me, which I hope is never. My other children have tired of looking, tired from looking at me. So, yeah. But I did have a long conversation with my oldest daughter, Larice, the other day. Long conversation. She's all the way in Germany. So, yeah. So, Larice and I, we talked at length. So, yep. But, I mean, she's older now. She understands what I was trying to do when I was younger now. But, hell, Larice never wanted me to leave. So, yeah. But it is what it is. So, I will have to do better as a grandpapa, which I will. It's not a problem. Like I said, as long as I'm, you know, active, I will still come and get her. Of course, I didn't have any gas to get back home. Mr. Redmond, how are you, sir? Yes, I have your microphones before you even ask me. Tomorrow's Thursday. Good Lord. You're an awesome papa. Thank you, Bree. You know, I was like, okay, do I stay or do I go? So, and of course, I was sitting outside when they pulled up. I was sitting in the truck, charging my phone on my little thing, my jump starter. I was like, oh, it's got a little slot to charge your phone. How cool is that? So I charged my phone on it because I can't charge it in the car because the cigarette lighter is out. So, hey, but the heat works. So I'm happy about that. But hello, Naomi. I'm sorry, Papa, I had to leave. I love you. Please don't be mad at me. Yeah. But thank you, Bree. She says I'm an awesome Papa. Dun, dun. Nicholas Beard and Can We Pretend right here on Bedtime Stories. The show designed with the lovers in mind, where we put you to bed but never to sleep with the greatest love songs of all time. Right here on the internet. Hello to my daughter Brianna, also to Lydale Redmond, aka Mr. Hypnotic, and Queen Janine Lee Jefferson. Got to say the whole thing. And of course, Sheila Forrest. Thank you so much for checking in on Facebook. You can do the same thing. That is, if you have a Facebook account, just hit me up. I don't mind talking to you. This afternoon, or this evening, I should say, I went to see my granddaughter, Naomi, and of course, my grandson, EJ, Elijah Jr. And Naomi did not want me to leave. Elijah didn't really care. EJ was like, okay, I'll see you when I see you. But Naomi, she had a little attitude. I'm like, okay, she's starting early with that womanly attitude, and she did not want Papa to leave. And Papa didn't want to leave. I had waited a couple of weeks because I was supposed to get her last week and the week before that. And so finally, I made it. They were just pulling up when I was sitting outside, and we played for a while. We played for about an hour and a half, and she didn't want Pawpaw to leave, and Pawpaw didn't want to leave. So, and she didn't want to talk to me. I was like, okay, Pawpaw's leaving now. She would not hug me. She would not say, I love you or anything. It broke my heart to see that her heart was broken. So, Naomi, this is for you. If I can play it. There it is. This is Anita Baker, and I apologize. I'm apologizing to a 5-year-old. Yeah, that's my heart, though. Here's Anita Baker on Bedtime Stories. Oh boy, she was woo. She just put her hands down to her side. She was like, don't even touch me. Don't try to hug me. No, I love you, no nothing. She just stood there. She was about to fall out because Pawpaw was leaving. Notice I'm not laughing. A 5-year-old catching an attitude like a grown woman. Oh yeah. I was like, okay, next Wednesday, guess where I'll be? If I got to do bedtime stories from her house, then yeah. Yeah, at least until she goes to sleep. Like, okay, Pawpaw's about to do bedtime stories. Can I go home now? No? Okay. Brought my computer. I can do it right here. Plug in my mic and then play my music. She's learning her training well. Well, it all goes back to when she was born. They put her in my arms, and that was it. Ever since then, she was mine. You know, it reminds me of the first time that I picked up my daughter Larice. It was like we bonded right then and there. And on Sundays when we would come home from church, we would take a nap. And I sat in my chair, put my feet up. She got in my lap, and we would both go to sleep. I would rock her to sleep in this, in this lounger. And that was every Sunday. When she took her first steps were to me. Yeah. She walked to me. Those were her first steps. She walked to Pawpaw. I asked her mom, I said, had she walked before? She said, no. Those were her first steps, and they were to me. So, ever since then, it's just been me and her. I would drop her off at the daycare center. I would go in there with her, take her coat off and everything, and then I had to leave. I said, well, Pawpaw's got to leave now. I can't stay here. Hey, Lisa. How are you, Lisa? Thank you for joining us. Can I call you after midnight? I hope you won't be asleep then. I just want to talk. But anyway, so I would drop her off at daycare. I would try to put her down, and she wasn't feeling that. I said, well, I'm coming back to get you this evening. So I would set my alarm and I would go back and get her. My office was on 79th Street. The daycare center was also on 79th Street. So I wasn't far from her. As a matter of fact, I was the emergency person because I wasn't working during the day. So I could, you know. Yep. So that was it. I would come and pick her up and take her home. Her mom at that time worked at the little airport. She worked at Midway. So I would go pick up mom, or mom would get a ride home and I would meet them at the house. And that was it. But that was every day. So she got to see Pawpaw every day. Not every day, but every day. You know, dropping off, picking up. Whenever she got in the car or my van, I always had snacks and a bottle already ready. I had the formula ready. I shook the bottle up. She liked to eat Cheez-Its. Of course, she didn't have no teeth, so she would suck on the Cheez-Its. And of course, they were the soft ones, the puffs. Hey, Holly Jennings. Hey, Holly. So, you know, she'd have everything ready. A bottle of juice, you know, apple juice, and a bottle of formula. So all that was mixed and ready for her to go to wherever Pawpaw would take her. I think at that time uh, I was doing transportation, so she would sit in the back seat, you know, like a good little princess, and that was it. So she's always been my little princess, always. So, but today she was the mean princess. she, she she was mad at Pawpaw, man, big time. She was like, "Where do you get off leaving me? You ain't never left me before." I'm like, "Well, I never did." So, yeah. But I think I'm probably a better grandparent than I was a parent because I get a chance to do it all over again. My daughters are spoiled. Brianna's spoiled. Larissa's spoiled. Because when Larice was a baby, she got whatever she wanted. To the point where her mother said, "Well, why don't you go stay with him?" That was it. For my granddaughter Naomi, "You Are So Beautiful" from Babyface, right here on Bedtime Stories with your peanut butter brother, Dr. Al Greer. Hello to Holly Jennings, also to Lisa Hunter. Thank you so much for joining us. I was saying earlier that my granddaughter did not want me to leave this afternoon. She was, she was steaming. So I had to play those two songs for her. I Apologize and "You Are So Beautiful," which is a song we used to sing to each other, and we still do to this day. She's 5 years old, and she still remembers when I sang to her when she was in my arms, "You Are So Beautiful," which is also a song that I sang in church one time. We were sitting in church. Pastor Lisa Cannon was preaching, and somehow that song came out of her mouth, and she was like, "I don't know the words to that song. Anybody know the words?" I'm all the way in the back of the church, right? And me and my big mouth or my big voice I started to sing the song, and they passed me the mic like I was Tina Turner or something. And before I knew it, I grabbed my wife and was singing to her in church. So that song has always been near and dear to me. There's another story behind that song, but I'm not going to tell it because that would ruin the story that I just told. But yeah, You Are So Beautiful. There are several versions of that song. The original, of course, done by Billy Preston. We might play his version later on as well. Al Green has a version of it. I've never heard a woman sing it, but who knows? Maybe one of these days, a woman will sing it to a man. You are so beautiful. To Dr. Al Greer. Hello to my granddaughter once again, Naomi. Papa had to leave, but Papa will never leave you. Please understand that. Here's Angela Winbush. I've learned to respect the power of a 5-year-old granddaughter. Right here on Bedtime Stories. Would you say, Janine, it's great to be a daddy's girl? Oh my goodness. You cannot tell Brianna that I am not her daddy. You can't tell her that. You know, that's not your father. Huh. Huh. You are in for a future evangelist about to cuss you out. So, for all intensive purposes, I am her father. Yep. All girlfriends were daddy's girls. All your girlfriends were daddy's girls. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I have not met a woman that did not love her daddy. It's something about the way a black woman looks at her father. That's her first love. Daddy could do no wrong. You know, all the times that I stood Larissa up, in her mind, he must have had a legitimate reason to stand me up. And I remember her mother, you just met one. I believe you. And that's just it. Your father, your daddy is your first love. It's the first man you look at. It's like, I want one like him. When I grow up, I'm going to marry my daddy. I mean, not him, but someone like him. And I can say this, Larice has definitely married someone like me. But don't tell her I said that, because it is my duty as a daddy not to like the son-in-laws. All right? It's my duty not to like them. Nope. Don't like them. Nope. Mm-mm. Nope. I would never marry anyone like my daddy. Why? Sheila said, I would go to bat for my daddy, my hero. I want a prototype like my dad. Well, see, at the time, Janine, you probably didn't know how bad he was until you got older. Up until then, he was your hero. He was your quote unquote boyfriend. That's a 60-year-old story, you know. But like I said, Larice, even my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was a daddy's girl because her father was never around. He was never around. So, yeah, Takesha was, she was crazy about Daddy Al. Everything was Daddy Al, Daddy Al, Daddy Al, until one day she just dropped the Al. I was just Daddy. And then our father came back into her life only to be taken away from her. And I was there at the funeral to say goodbye to her father with her. It was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do at that time. The second hardest was to give Brianna away at her wedding. That was difficult. Her mother and I weren't together, and I was there that day, and I had to give Brianna away. And when it came time for me to say, you know, I do, who give this woman to be married to this man, up until that time, I was cool up until that time. But when I had to hand her hand to him, I was like, oh, hell no. Stop. Excuse me, Pastor Cannon. I can't do this. I appreciated the fact that, oh my God, he went to NAM when you were 2, and I never saw him again until you were 13, and the beat goes on. I'm so sorry. Janine, I am so sorry. Wow. When you were 2. Okay, say no more. Woo. Say no more. I understand. When I was a kid, my daddy went to the army. Of course, he came back, and he was there until um, Dad wasn't really my hero. My hero was my mother. You know, if Dad was Superman, she was Wonder Woman, and that was it. So, I, my mother was a superhero too. Like I said, if Dad was Superman, she was Wonder Woman. You know, she made me forget a lot of things. And when I got older, she reminded me of a lot of things. Well, she didn't remind me. She told me a lot of things about my dad. My dad wasn't the, you know, he wasn't Cliff Huxtable. He wasn't the huggy, feely, touchy type. He just wasn't, which is why I'm the way I am with my kids, and especially my granddaughter. And she's not my only grandchild. Oh, no. You know, I have an EJ and I have an AJ. So, and I have my granddaughter by Larice, which is my daughter. My granddaughter is the spitting image of me. I'm like, oh my God, she's got my raggedy mouth and everything. I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh, she's got Pawpaw's raggedy mouth. Her teeth grew in just like mine. So, Mimi, oh baby, but she cute. She's cute. She's cuter than I ever was as a baby. I tell you, you can never love a child too much. That's why I'm the way I am. My mother loved all the hurt away. I know that's right. I know that's right, girl. I forgot how awkward I was as a child because of my mother. She told me the story of the ugly duckling. I'm like, gee, thanks. He was really a swan. He wasn't really a duck at all. Because, I was skinny, had a long neck, scrawny. I was Steve Urkel for real, for real, you know. But as I got older, I got cooler, you know. I said I would never go back to being a nerd. Mm-mm. Me too, girl. Dexter Wansell. 1 million miles from the ground from 1976. I remember playing that song. We were at a place called Roller Arena, which was a roller rink, which is on 103rd, I think, in Calumet or Prairie, one of those streets. And I would get requests for that song all the time. And it was like a couple song. We would turn out the lights and only sparse lights on the roller rink floor, and they would just dance to that song. And I would, well, not dance, but skate to that song, and it was just so beautiful to watch because we had different types of lighting. So we cut out the other colored lights, and we would just have the little spotlights going around and round, and they would go around the rink, and it was just so beautiful. And that song, every time I play it, it always chokes me up. 1 million miles from the ground. Dexter Wansell from the album Life on Mars. It's your Dr. Al Greer right here on Bedtime Stories. Hello to Janine Lee Jefferson, or Queen Janine as we call her. Thank you so much. Sheila Forrest and Lisa Hunter was on earlier. I'm going to try to call her before she goes to bed. Anyway, coming up in our last hour, we're going to do foreplay. But right now, we're going to do two play from Denise Williams. This is It's Gonna Take a Miracle on Bedtime Stories, a song originally done by the Royalettes back in the 60s. It's your peanut butter brother, Dr. Al Greer, and this is Bedtime Stories, the show designed with the lovers in mind, where we put you to bed, but never to sleep, with the greatest love songs of all time. It's gonna take a miracle. Me, so the older I got finer. I heard that. I heard that. That was the same with me. Yeah. I once had your loving, baby, and I can't let it go. Here it is, right there on top. Anyway, I know that's right. Um, what was that? I was talking about my granddaughter and my daughter. Let me talk about bedtime stories. This is how I came across bedtime stories. There was a gentleman by the name of Drushawn Williams. He did a show called Bedtime Stories at Kennedy King College, and he would come on late at night on Sunday evenings. And he ended up getting a job at GCI. So he left Kennedy King or KKC. And I was like, can I keep the show? He said, sure, Unc. Everybody calls me uncle or daddy or whatever. He said, sure, Unc. So I took it and ran with it. And ever since then, it's always been bedtime stories with Al Greer. Got to say the whole thing. One of these days, I'm going to get it trademarked so that nobody else can use it. I mean, bedtime stories, yes. But bedtime stories with Dr. Al Greer, no, they can't use it when it's pertaining to a particular show. I didn't want to call it Quiet Storm. I didn't want to go with Whispers in the Dark or Pillow Talk or anything like that. So, and the reason being because every song that we play on bedtime stories tells a story. And bedtime, of course, is a nicer way to say, let's go get in the bed. It's a nicer way to put it. Let's go to bed, honey. Let me tell you a story, honey. Let me put on an Isley Brothers song that's going to tell a story. And that was it. So Bedtime Stories was born. Well, not born. He'd already birthed it. I just took it and ran with it. So, hey, Michelle, how you doing? So that's the story behind Bedtime Stories. Of course, there's been movies called Bedtime Stories. There's been, so on and so forth. But I've kept it as a moniker or a way of, I guess, putting a name on what I play. And that was it. So Bedtime Stories kind of worked out. Of course, they still want to call me Mr. Quiet Storm or Mr. Whispers in the Dark, Mr. Pillow Talk. I don't know where that came from, but I'm glad you're fine, Michelle. Thank you. Patricia McClinton, thank you for joining us as well. So that's been it. It's been bedtime stories for quite a while now, going on 20 years. So, yeah. So that was it. So what started out, me, I guess, doing somebody else's show who didn't want to do it anymore. And it's like he gave it over to me. And ever since then, I have carried on the moniker of Bedtime Stories. I mean, I had to call it something, right? And I didn't want to call it Whispers in the Dark, even though I could use that if I wanted to, but I didn't really want to. So, yep, Whispers in the Dark was something that I did over at GCI. So I left it there and I let somebody else use it. And then they stopped doing it. The last person to host Whispers in the Dark was a guy by the name of Chris Michaels. Chris's real name is Christopher Michael Pegee. the son of Richard Peggy. And I remember him coming to me. He was like, "Unc, I want to be on the radio." I'm like, "No, you don't. No, you don't." He said, I want to do what you and Dad do, but I don't want to, I don't want to ride his coattails." It's like, okay. I said, "So what are you going to call yourself?" He said, "Chris Michaels." No, I asked him what his middle name was. He said, "Michaels, Michael." So I'm like, okay. So we had a jammin' Dave Michaels, who used to be at the GCI. So that was it. So he became Chris Michaels. And he's used that name since. And I'm proud to say that he did a great job of hosting Whispers in the Dark. So much so, when they dropped Whispers in the Dark on GCI, he immediately went over to V103 and hosted The Quiet Storm. And at times, I didn't know who was on the radio, me or him. It was so uncanny because I guess he had listened to me. And our voices are similar. And I remember being in the gas station one night and they had the radio blasting and his voice was coming out of that boom box. I was like, wow, that is great. But he used to hang out with me in the studio. I used to do an afternoon show on GCI. It was like Sunday afternoons. And he would just hang out and listen. And, he learned about show prep and everything. And that was it. So, not saying that everything he learned was from me. I'm just saying he learned. He could have easily had learned from his dad, but you know, his dad had old ways, and he didn't want to learn those old ways of his father. And that was it. His father, of course, Richard Peggy, who was one of my mentors. Two in a row from Denise Williams and Silly. I remember playing her songs, playing her records. There was a song called Foolish that she did, and I would play that song over and over again. It was never a single, but it was just one of those songs produced by Tom Bell. And the song was so beautiful. And I thought to myself, I was like, she's singing to me. I had never met her up until a few years ago when we had her at the Taste of WBLN. And I finally got to meet her face to face. And I was just floored. I'm like, she still looked like she did on the album cover of Free when she first did that album. She still looked like that. You know what they say? Black don't crack and beige don't age. And peanut butter sticks to the roof of your mouth. It's like, what does that got to do with anything else? Well, I am the peanut butter brother, right? By request, the Isley Brothers, I once had your lovin', and I cannot let go. For Queen Janine on Bedtime Stories. Closed doors, don't had your loving, baby, and I can't let go. I once had your loving, baby, and I can't let go. Once had your loving, baby. Be right back. Get some water. I'm back. Yep, old Chris Michaels. The good times. Was having a bar. Angie Martin Turner. ULA. What's going on, sis? Ooh. While I'm sitting here, let me check my bank account. See how much money I don't have. Yeah, I'm not going to beg tonight. Trust me. I'm not. Marion. Hey, Marion. Oh, my God. I used to have such a crush on Marion back in the day. Oh, my goodness. Like, who didn't I have a crush on, right? Hey, Marion. Thank you so much for joining us here. Also, shout out to Dr. Ron Ford. When he comes into the chat room, make sure you all say hi to Dr. Ron. That's that's my other brother from another mother. You know, I didn't think that Dr. Ron even liked me. I guess under the circumstances we met through a mutual friend, or at least he was a friend at the time. But he and I grew close as we got older. So thank you, Marion. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. I remember you used to do hair, didn't you, Marion, at one time? Yep, I think I remember that. Yeah, you did hair. Yeah, old Marion. Well, not old, but you know. Yeah, but thank you. Don't forget to share the page. Just hit share and share it on your personal page so that other people will see the little ticker tape which is running under me. Because I know you all are tired of me. I know you all are tired of me begging for money. So I'm not going to do it anymore. I saw, and I only started doing that because I saw the other DJs doing it. And they were doing it last year. They started that because most of the DJs, the street jocks, they couldn't make any money because, nobody was hiring us because of COVID. And we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't DJ for anybody because we were at home like everybody else was. So they started doing StreamYard and they started doing Twitch. A couple of them were doing Facebook Live and getting kicked off. But every one of them had like a little banner at the bottom saying, Cash App information, Zelle information, because we weren't making any money. We couldn't go to we couldn't DJ a party because we were stuck at home just like you all were. Last year, I had maybe 3 parties in 2020. Three. I remember one was a backyard party that I did. And that was like towards the beginning of COVID. And they said it was okay to be outside, but everybody still had on masks, you know. And I said I would do the set, but the only stipulation was I had to be in a room by myself. That room had to be disinfected with Lysol before I sat in it. And I was to have no contact with anyone. How long did that last? Not too long. All the young ladies that I used to see at club someplace else, they were all there, and um, I couldn't not speak to them, you know. But it was just wonderful to see all of them because we hadn't seen each other. The club burned down, so we were unable to see anyone. And then with COVID, we weren't able to touch anyone. So it was good to see some of them. I did hug them, but from a distance. Some of them actually said, come over here. You're going to hug me, Al Greer. I'm like, okay. So, but it was good to see them, and we had a great time. It was a backyard party, but I was on the inside, and I was spinning inside, and that was it. Marion, how have you been? I have not seen you in ages. I'm sure you look exactly the same way you did back in the day when you and I were, yeah, going to the club. Yeah, that's it. We were going to the club back then. Concentrate on you. I know that's right. Concentrate on you. Forsake all others and just concentrate on you. Jeffrey Osborne, right here on Bedtime Stories with your peanut butter brother, Dr. Al Greer. Thank you so much for joining us, not only on the internet on bigsradio.com, thebestmusicofyourlife.com, and WOSD, our home station, but on Facebook as well. Hello to Marion. Thank you so much for joining us. I have not seen Marion in years. And Marion probably looks exactly like she did back in the day when I saw her. And I cannot remember what club it was that I met her. It's been that long. But thank you, Marion, for being on my Facebook Live. You can do that too. It's Al Greer on Facebook Live. That's Al, Greer. I'm also on Instagram at Peanut Butter Brother One. That's Peanut, BUTTABROTHA 1. All right. And of course, Bedtime Stories is sponsored by Don't forget to share the video, okay? Just hit share. Thank you, Marion. Mhm. On WOSD-DB Chicago, WDLB Indianapolis, and Ray Neal Media, the best music of your life.com. It's your peanut butter brother, Dr. Al Greer, and this is Bedtime Stories, the show designed with the lovers in mind, where we put you to bed but never to sleep with the greatest love songs of all time. Not because I say it, because everybody else feels the same way about that. So who am I to argue, right? Here's George Benson with a little help from the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, as we love all the hurt away right here on Bedtime Stories. So what's been going on, Marion? Did you change professions? Because I know you probably don't do hair anymore because you got tired of standing on those pretty feet all day. Yeah, that's all right. Janine says the Isleys are my absolute favorite group. You know what? Mine too. They're one of my favorites. But you got to understand that Isley Brothers have been recording since the 50s. The 50s. Let me say that again. The Isley Brothers have been recording since the 50s. So, Marion, you are still doing hair, or are you doing something else? What is that something else that you're doing? Because I know you could whip up some hair back in the day. Yeah. Love all the hurt away. 30 Isley Brothers CDs. All right. Mm-mm-mm. Yep, those Isley brothers, I tell you. We were talking about that the other day, Janine. Um, at my fifth job out in River Oaks at Big Time, it was like the day after Ron Isley and and Ernie and Earth, Wind, and Fire were on that Versus thing. That's all they talked about all day was Ron Isley with that beard. That's all they talked about. They're like, ooh, he looked good. He looked good older. He wasn't trying to, hide that white beard of his. That's all they talked about. They said, oh, okay, cat daddy. I was like, wow. Made me want to grow mine out. Not, but I must admit, Ron Isley, you know, he's outlived everybody. I mean, when you think about all the super groups of the 70s, Slave, Cameo, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Isley Brothers, it was always at least six members or more on that album cover. You knew that was going to be a damn good album. If it was six members, Slave, Cameo, I mentioned them. If it was a bunch of mother on the album cover, you knew it was going to be, or if they was laying down like Luther, Michael Jackson's Thriller album, Lionel Richie's album, if they was, leaning to the side, he's like, oh, this is going to be good. Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Teddy Pendergrass, even his album. It's time for love, baby, get ready for love. Yeah, but they was leaning or something. Yeah, it was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yep. Mm-mm. Yeah, buddy. You know that was gonna be a good album if they was leaning. Woo. Bill Withers, and I want to spend the night right here on Bedtime Stories. It's your peanut butter brother, Dr. Al Greer, with the greatest love songs of all time here on Bedtime Stories. Thank you so much for joining us. Earlier, we were talking about me and my granddaughter, or my granddaughter and I should say. And she did not want me to leave this afternoon, this evening. But her and her mom had to go to church. I guess she wanted me to go to church with her so we could play in church. I sit down on the floor with her and I play with her, which I always have. And I always will until I can no longer get up off the floor. Anyway, coming up in our next hour, we're going to do foreplay. That's four songs by one of your favorite artists or groups, male or female. If you have one in mind, give us a call at 773-675-2400 or just leave it here on Facebook. From their album Pandemonium, it's Sometimes I Get Lonely from Morris Day and the Time, right here on Bedtime Stories. Hmm. Woo-ha. Sometimes I get lonely. Where did everybody go? Where did everybody go? Oh well, I'll keep going. Maybe they'll catch up later. Yep, zero, zilch, nada. Morris Day and the Time. Only for one night. All right, Lufer. Lufa. Sing, Lufer. Oh, no wonder.